we go. Record on the computer. There we go. So, good afternoon, Alan. You're my guest today, and thanks for joining us, Jay.
Good afternoon, Karen.
So, my first question to you is, what was your childhood like?
My childhood was pretty happy, I guess. I think most childhoods are people who are brought up normally, for want of a better phrase, don't actually quantify it unless they've obviously been abused in some very bad way. I think your childhood is your childhood by and large. I mean, I'm off a council estate. My mum and dad were hard workers who looked after us very well. We were well provided for. We didn't want for anything. We don't have a large family, but our one set of grandparents were close by. I went to the local primary school, and everything, to my knowledge that I can remember, was pretty good. I don't recall anything unhappy about my childhood that I could say that was a bad thing that happened to me as a child. So pretty much, yeah, it was great. I've heard different people. There was an interview with Jamie Carragher, who used to play for Liverpool, on quite recently. Jamie's from the Bootle area, which is where my dad is from. It's the docks, one of the dockside areas in Liverpool, which is perceived as being, excuse me, it's an inner city area and perceived maybe as being a bit rough. But he said that, and he was a big, strong defender. He was a good player, but he was a hard player. And people said about your childhood and where you were brought up. He said it's what it was. He said that there's no difference about it. It's just where I'm from, end of story. And I think that's absolutely right. There's people who have wealthy backgrounds and wealthy bringings up who are unhappy for whatever reason. And I think it's more about your family background and your role models and your boundaries and your guidelines that you're given than actual, if you like, privilege or wealth or position, if that makes sense. So that's a very long way of saying, yeah, it was okay.
It was okay. And did you enjoy
it was great.
school? Did you enjoy school?
I again, from my recollection is yes. I don't recall, excuse me, anything bad about school. My primary school, again, as I say, I was off a council estate on the outskirts of Liverpool. Went to the local primary school. It was fine. You can date me now because I actually was in the last but one year of sitting the 11 plus. So I went to what was our local state grammar school, which was not. I think there's a perception now that grammar schools are something that everybody who goes to or gets to a grammar school was like something out of Eton or Harrow. And that wasn't the case at all. It was just full of kids off council estates who were deemed or perceived to be a bit brighter at the age of 11 than others. And that's how the demarcation was in those days of education. If you passed 11 plus, you went to grammar school or had the opportunity to. And if you didn't, you went to second modern and then left with CSEs and went to work in a shop or something. Or if you wanted to and you got the right grade, you went on to maybe secretarial college or technical college or that kind of thing. And other than it being on separate premises, I don't think it's very different to what it is now. We have comprehensive schools where kids are streamed. It is, if you like, a form of streaming. What I did find at grammar school, I went to what was Prescott Grammar School, and it was the second, well, would have been the second oldest grammar school in the country. It was founded in 1544. And the town Prescott is just an ordinary small market town in Lancashire, if you like. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but there was quite a sense of history and tradition about it. Academically, it did okay. Academically, I did okay. Possibly one of the reasons I found school okay was that I was okay at it. Primary school I was in, I remember being a top boy in old money. It would have been 48 juniors, whatever that is, year 6, I think it's called now. And I did okay. And I got to about 14, I started discovering the things that 14-year-olds discover. So when it came to O-level time, I'd kind of backed off academically a bit. So academically, I was average, really. I did well enough to start sixth form, got through O-levels okay. But again, I would say I probably breezed through it. Not so much the academic side, I did okay. I remember doing my O levels and getting good grades in some things and getting unclassified in others. I was so bad I didn't even get a grade in 4 subjects. Um, and one of those is one I had been really good at a couple of years prior, German, but it was okay. I went by, got on to go to all the stuff, further education. So yeah, again, another long-winded answer to your question was that I enjoy school. Yes, I guess I did.
Yeah. And did you have any problems at school?
Not that I can recall. I seem to be one of these kids that fitted in. I was a fairly big lad and still am, so I didn't really have any issues with bullying. I was never picked on. The occasional fight I got into, I tended to win. So that kind of stopped a lot more fights, as these things do.
Yeah.
Wasn't particularly good at sporting. I wasn't really sporty. It was too slow to be any good at anything, really, sports-wise. But I fitted in with different groups of people, my old primary school people. Interestingly, my long-standing school friends, none of them are people that I went to primary school with. They're people from secondary level at school. Baughan, who died sadly last year, Gordon. But other than that, no, I don't recall having any problems really at school. There was no teachers that I particularly fell out with. I didn't have any challenges, any particular challenges in any particular subject that I can recall. So no, it was okay. It was fine.
Okay. And did you have any siblings? And are they older or younger than you, if you had any?
Yeah, I've got one sister, Anne, who is what is she, 3? She's nearly 4 years younger than me. She's three school years, but nearly 3 academic years, but nearly 4 calendar years younger than me. So yeah, just the one that I know of.
And did you get on with her, or?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you go on to further education, college, university?
I did, yeah. I went to I got 6 O levels, as they were called at the time, what would now be GCSEs, which got me into 6th form at school. And I opted to do it. At the time, I did something that seemed the right idea, but it wasn't. I picked lots of maths and physics. I didn't really pick a subject that I liked and enjoyed, which was the advice that we got when we took my children to when my children had A-level stuff to decide. We were advised they should do at least one subject that they liked and enjoyed. And I never received that advice. I did subjects that seemed a good idea to do rather than something I actually liked. So I did maths, further maths and physics. And I'd done okay with maths prior to GCSE. I actually passed my maths O-level year early with a grade A. So I was deemed to be good at maths, if you like. I was good at passing maths exams, whether that's the same thing is open to question. But I did okay, but I'd had enough after the first year. I was struggling, and I went then to so I left my A-level courses after 1 year. I went to a technical college, one of them things that CSE people went to. Then I'd been to grammar school, and funny how things go full circle. It was great. I did an engineering qualification at a technical college, which got me into what was Liverpool Polytechnic at the time. It is now John Moores University, and I did an HND. So I've got higher level education qualification, which was okay. Would I do it again? I did it because I couldn't get a job I fancied. I didn't really want to be a student. I didn't study engineering for the love of it. I was kind of guided into it by my dad, bless him, who always believed that you'll always have a job and a career in engineering, as he called it. My dad had left school at 15. He spent all his working life on the docks, and he'd had to turn down a scholarship. At the time, life was pretty tough in post-war Liverpool, as it was in lots of other places. And he wasn't able to take up a scholarship he was offered, or something of that nature. So it was always the value of my education was shoved down my throat from an early age, and it stayed there and was regularly re-shoved down my throat if it showed any signs of coming out. So the whole "don't ever waste your education" mantra was quite rightly at the forefront of my mind all the time. The fact that I then, in inverted commas, wasted it doing engineer, a thing that would now be redundant, I think I studied, is that's just the way it panned out. No one could have forecast that. It got me a qualification that I never used. The career I subsequently followed, I could have started where I started with an A-level qualification. The 3 years I did 3 years at in Liverpool and stayed at home. One of my few regrets in life is that I never went away to university. I stayed at home, partly because I had a really good part-time job that paid well. So I ran a car and a motorbike as a student, which was pretty good. But I never did the live away thing, which only hit me that the first year. All my friends who went living away came back at Christmas, full of stories about how I was going. And at that point, I kind of regretted that I hadn't done it. But by then, I'd lost a year of education. It was too late, in my opinion, to change again. Not that I think I would have wanted to, but that's one of the few things I regret a little bit that I've never done, was to go away to study at university.
Yeah.
But it's not something that will haunt me till the day I die. It's just maybe would have done it differently. I don't know. Excuse me.
So your first job was in engineering, was it? Or
my first proper job was working at a store called Macro, which is in different places across the country. It's a wholesaler. And I started there in the autumn of my lowest 6th year just as a store assistant, working, stocking shelves and this, that, and the other. And the irony of doing that job, and I worked there from the autumn of 78 through to the summer of 84, when I got my first full-time career job, if you like. I was dealing with people all the time. I was out on the shop floor dealing with customers, dealing with colleagues, occasionally dealing with and having run-ins with management, even though I was a Sunday lad, come evening occasional worker, come dog's body, come whatever. But the work I did at Macro probably stood me in far greater stead than a lot of the stuff I'd studied, because it gave me an ability to deal with people and be comfortable in people's situations, or the experience of doing it. And from that point of view, I found when I went into my career, if you like, dealing with people came easily to me. It didn't intimidate me, or I was rarely lost for words or something. I'm still very rarely lost for words for that matter, as this is probably proving. But that was very, very valuable. As I say, it was basic store work, if you like, shop work, but very, very valuable stuff.
And then when did you go from there then?
The June of 84, when I passed my HND, I'd had an interview with a company called IBM, a big American company that you probably know. And I did 19 years with IBM. And again, something I'm very grateful to my dad for. There was an advert at the time. It was in a national paper for what were called customer engineers, that were basically typewriter mechanics but wore suits. And we were called customer engineers at the time. And he saw the advert, and he basically kicked I call it backside, but he kicked my backside and made me apply for it. And in the end, I applied to shut him up, and it was the best thing I ever did. I had a great career with IBM for 19 years, or certainly 15 years of the 19 were fantastic. Fixing things. I'd always had an interest in cars and how things work. So golf ball typewriters, which is what we fixed at the time, they were like miniature cars. They had like greasy bits and hooks and springs and levers and stuff, just like a car, but just in miniature. And it was great. And I got paid to look after 600 typewriters in Liverpool city centre that had 600 typists that worked them. So it was quite a job for a 22-year-old lad, to be frank. There was times I thought I actually get paid for doing this, but by some miracle. So it was good times, and I worked my way through different levels of office equipment and some mini computers and stuff like that. And I had 19 years with the company until I got made redundant in January 2003, I think it was. Yeah. But a good times, great company. But things changed, and it wasn't as good towards the end of my time there. And in the end, I left on redundancy terms, but that, with hindsight, was a blessing. So yeah.
Yeah. So is that when you started your self-employed position?
Not quite. I left IBM in the January with a CV as long as your arm, but with particular things that I'd done that were of interest to other companies. I'd grown to detest the IT industry by then, but it was what I did. I'd left with unexpected debt and this, that, and the other. And at the time, I was looking for another job because I didn't really know anything but jobs at the time. If you like, I'd bought a couple of rented houses by then, and I was doing property rental. I'd learned some lessons off a guy who was a friend at the time. So the entrepreneurial streak had already started, probably in the mid-90s, about wanting more than a job or wanting more than corporate life, if you like. And I left IBM in January. I joined another company. It was a company called Databacks, who was trying to sell an IT product, a backup product at the time that was over-engineered and expensive, what they were doing. And I'd gone in because I had some valuable contacts that were useful to them. But after about a year or so, I decided I was finished with the IT industry. I didn't want to know. I wasn't particularly good at it, interested in it. It was paying my bills, but that was it. So they finished me up in the December of 2005, I think it was. Yeah. And I actually consider myself lucky to have been made redundant twice in 2.5 years, or nearly 3 years, because it actually opened my eyes and it forced me to do other things. Sometimes I think people are trapped in jobs that they think they like, but don't really, that they're trapped by the routine and the need for what the job provides, which is usually money. And most of us, with some notable exceptions, that we don't want a job. We think we want a job, but we actually want the product of a job, which is money in most cases. In the same way that when we buy a torch, we don't want a torch, we actually want light. And if we buy a newspaper, we don't actually want a newspaper, we want news. And people are hooked and hung up on this jobs business. They think, I need a job, got to have a job. But actually, if they sit and analyze themselves for a minute, what they actually want or need is money, or the knowledge that they're going to earn money or make money. Different thing. So by the time I was finished the second time with the second company, I made some provision to make sure I was financially okay. And I had a year of being able to look around and do other things and get involved with other stuff. It was kind of a financed career break, if you like, at 42, 43. And I got involved with BNI then, the business networking organization. And that was probably it was the start of my property ventures, of being a business owner. That's when I properly, if you like, went on my own. So yeah.
So you joined UW. And what do you put your success down to UW to get to where you are today with them? Is it luck, or is it down to your hard work?
There's a famous expression that is originally attributed to the South African golfer Gary Player, I believe, and people said he'd had a bit of luck at in one particular tournament with one particular shot. I don't know the full details, and he said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And in terms of luck, when I've found customers or people have got involved with the business and I've sponsored people to come and work with UW, they're an absolutely fabulous company to be involved with. That's because I've opened my mouth and words have come out, not because they've come and tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want to join Utility Warehouse, because nobody ever wants to join a utility company, but they want, I would guarantee that 99.9% of the population would, a bit like the torch and the newspaper analogy, they want the benefits that are available from working with Utility Warehouse, but they see words like utility and so on and immediately make assumptions and prejudge things, as human beings do all the time. I've been with the company. I actually signed up with them as a partner 3 times. This is my 3rd time, and I've been with them this time for over 12 years. In terms of success and why, I've stuck at it. A number of the key mantras in our business, and I've written actually a couple of them down here by way of preparation. Never, ever, ever let go of the rope. So even when you're in and things get tough and you feel, I'm too busy to do a bit of UW this and UW that, and I'm busy with kids and jobs and houses, never ever let go of the thing that you've got in your hands and stay in touch with the business. One of the key mantras that we have as well with the business is to touch your business every day. So whether it's to make 2 phone calls or speak to 2 people or whatever it might be, do something every day to affect your business. And another one that my fabulous guy Stefan Longworth, my upline in the company, he says, whatever you do, be here a year from now. Don't ever give up. Just keep, even if you take a break. I took a break from UW a couple of years ago for 18 months, and for different reasons, I was just too busy with other things, rightly or wrongly. I didn't do the 5 minutes on it, but I didn't let go of the rope either. And I'm still here. My money went up every month in that period, interestingly. And Stefan has he has a version of that mantra that I won't repeat on this program, but it's basically don't ever give up something. There's only 2 ways that you cannot be successful in our business, and that is to not make a start and to give it up. They're the only 2 ways it can't work, because everything we do is if people stick at it, it will work 100%. So yeah, in terms of luck, have I met people who've joined the business and have been instant successive without needing any support. I've met other people where I've invested tons and tons of my time and effort who haven't responded to that. That's the frustrating part of the job sometimes. Not the job, the business. Sorry, it's not a job that I have with them. But that's all part of the big mix. Sometimes we tend in life, we tend sometimes to give our time to people who need it rather than people who deserve it. And sometimes needy people will never ever respond because they just get more needy the more you help them. Sometimes the more you do for people, the more they expect and the more they want. And then when you stop being so supportive, it's, well, what happened to you? You used to give me all the support. Yeah, I already used to go above and beyond. This is in life. This isn't UW particularly. And sometimes think, well, you're not very helpful anymore. And you think, you cheeky git. What do you mean? How much help I've given you? But that's just that's just the way it is. We all meet people who are great and others we don't. That's just part of life.
That's
yeah. So yeah, did that answer the question? Sorry, I've done a bit of a ramble there.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. And so what do you put your success down to with UW?
It comes down to Stefan's mantra. Never ever give up and be here a year from now. I without getting all evangelical about the company, I will be with UW till the day I die, doing what I do, because I know what it does and how it affects and helps people and supports people. So I would do it for nothing, basically. I'd do it as a hobby. In terms of success, there are people who basically run part of my business for me because of geography and stuff that I'm very grateful to. And there are people, one of the beauties of a great network marketing business, whether it's Utility Warehouse or others, is that you can eventually become irrelevant to the function of your business, because other people that you bring into the business and you sponsor and train and support and educate go and fly off on their own. They become you, if you like, because you teach them and educate them. So they grow your business for you. And eventually you're in a position where you're getting paid every month. You don't necessarily have to do any work or much work to get paid. But the money's going up because the people you brought in and sponsored and educated are doing the same as what you do. The network marketing industry can be magical. Not always, but it can be. And it's helping people in that way and being a good sponsor, a good trainer, a supportive person for people, as I say, who deserve it. It reaps its benefits. It's a very what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very level playing field business. Nobody can buy their way to success. Everybody started at ground zero, no customers, no partners. Everybody paid their couple of quid to join, whatever it was at the time, and got on with it. And worked hard. It's a total meritocracy, which is great. There's no privilege or you can't buy your way to success with the company. You get what you earn. And the company are very big on rewarding consistent effort as well. They give us all kinds of bonuses and benefits. We had 700 people on a cocktail mixology evening the other Friday, a couple of Fridays ago. We had a Zoom mixology evening with 700 people on it. that was quite good. All of whom had done a bit of work and the company rewarded us. So yeah, really good.
Good. So if you had to relive your life again, would there be anything that you would change?
Ew.
Would there be anything that you'd do differently?
I think that. Oh, right, have we got another hour? There's certain things that I would have done differently at certain times, and certain people I wouldn't have listened to, without particularly naming names, naming organisations that I'd worked for. I would do things very differently. Kind of things that I would, just bringing it back to you. And it is, by the way, it's not UW, although what I'm about to say is linked to UW. It's linked into what you've just asked me. One of the great things about our business is that it can help young people be financially free by the time they're 30, if that's what they want. The downside is that most of them, and this is beginning to change, don't understand what that actually can mean, because they haven't had 20, 30, 40 years worth of, I'll call it life experience, but there's a much shorter word for it, which I'm sure you can imagine, that makes us realize in the business how valuable it is. Now, Utility Warehouse wasn't around when I was 22, 23, 24. But if it had been, and I'd not got into it until I was 44, I would tell my younger self to start it now, because 7-8 years work with this company can literally transform people's lives. It gives them a freedom that they don't appreciate until they're older. More and more younger people are beginning to get what we do and how we do it, which is great. The online world really helps. We do everything online now. And of course, younger people are much more au fait with doing everything via the internet world, rather than meeting people face to face and opening mouths and letting words come out and all that kind of thing that we did, called talking. They can do stuff in different ways now. But the great thing is that we're seeing more and more younger people see, you know what, 6 or 7 years with this company, I don't really need to worry about a pension, which is actually the truth. They wouldn't need to if they got stuck in. And they can enjoy effectively a pension income now because of the way we get paid. So my advice would be to me, my younger me, if I was 20, in my mid-20s now, would be to do this now. Don't put it off, and don't think there's another time. Get started and do a little bit now. It's a bit like putting money in the bank now, putting money in a pension now, and leaving it for 30 years. A small amount can be a huge amount of money in 30 years. And UW is like a work version of that. Do a bit now, and the rewards will be there in quicker than you think. Because most people who are younger, there's an expression that youth is wasted on the young, and it's kind of the whole. Don't get me wrong, when we were all 22, 23, 24, we all had probably the same 2, 3, 4 things in mind most of the time. Booze, that kind of thing. And it's only when you get a bit older and there's houses and cars and kids and stuff going on that sap your energy and sap your money and sap your time, that you think, God, how do I put up with this? One of the great benefits for me with the decision I made with the Utility Warehouse and one or two other things I did, I was able to plan my time quite around what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So very often, I would be the only parent, or there'd be one other parent at the school rugby matches of an afternoon. The other parent was a pro rugby league player whose son was in my son's class. But most of the other parents, 9 times out of 10, would be in work. They didn't see their son play rugby in the afternoon. But I could, because I'd planned it that way. It gave me the freedom to choose.
Yeah.
Freedom of choice is such a valuable thing that we have, that we're able to offer. But it's wasted till it's too late on so many people, young and old.
So have you got any questions, Jay?
Well, first of all, I must just say thank you for sharing your words of wisdom.
You're welcome. I don't know about the wisdom bit, but there were certainly words.
I think there's a lot that you've said there. I mean, life is a lesson, and hearing your
Absolutely.
hearing what you said, I could relate to a lot of the experiences that you had. I'm not quite. I'm probably a generation younger than you.
I'm
But
58, if that helps.
So you've got 9 years on me then.
Yeah. I tend to call it my very late 30s.
Yes. I like that. I have to remember that one.
Good one, that.
Yeah,
I don't have grey hair either. It's platinum.
In that case, I'm in my very late 20s. Yeah. So, but yeah. I mean, I was a 70s child. So I don't remember the 11 plus. I think I just missed that. But
Yeah.
I certainly do remember the O levels. In fact, I was actually in the final year to do O levels.
Okay.
My younger brother, who was in the year below me, he did GCSEs. You know,
Right. Okay.
but yeah. So a lot of what you said, I related to, and I was just thinking about I've written down a few things. Never let go of the rope. That is, and touch your business every day. Those are two keys for life, for business. No matter
Absolutely.
whether it's UW, whether it's Herbalife, whether it's a brick and mortar business.
Yes.
Never let go of the rope. And I think that's something that I've done all my life. You know, all my business career, even through the hard times. Is
Sure.
I'm going to write a poem about that actually. Yeah, you've given me some inspiration for a poem because I'm a poet. So thank you for
You're welcome.
that.
No charge for that.
Yeah, but yeah, you have to, keep hold of the rope and keep hold of your vision. And what you were set when you're talking about luck, I thought you were going to quote. I don't know whether you've heard this one. Labour under correct knowledge. That's what luck stands for. I thought you were going to say that.
I've not heard that one before at all.
Oh,
No,
right,
that's interesting.
right. It's one I learned from multi-level marketing. In fact, I think I may have even learned it from somebody in UW because I was in UW for a short period,
All right. Okay.
many years ago. But yeah, there was a guy called
Very different business now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's yeah. From what I've heard from others, I can see that there was a guy called Jim somebody or other who was an ex-police officer.
Jimmy Chapman.
Yeah, that's the chap.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know
guy.
Jimmy very well. Yeah.
He was like he was my appliance upline. So I think I was about 4 generations down.
I probably know 2 of the other names at least, I would think.
Yeah, and there was another guy, Robin somebody or other. I can't remember his surname. But yeah. But I mean, I've jumped in and out of multi-level marketing companies throughout my 20s and 30s, up until I think my last MLM company was, I think I was in my mid 30s.
Right.
So about 15 years ago. But you saying never let go of the rope, that was what I used to do, was let go of the rope. But what I didn't let go of was my dream. My dream was to be my own boss, and what you were saying about people don't want a job, they want the money. And I think that is so. We don't think about these things, do we?
Correct.
And I think, I mean, some of the things you've said are just brilliant. Things like that. But
Thank you.
So great. So thank you very much. I did have a question, but I've forgotten what it was now because I've rambled on so often.
One of the things I never touched on, Karen, by the way, sorry, and it's only just come to me now from this conversation, was touching on goal setting, and it's kind of linked into the never let go of the rope.
Yeah.
Where do you want to be if you do keep hold of the rope and keep your focus on that? Because it gives you the motivation. And one phrase I did write down as well, which I've never got to use, is to have a why that makes you cry. And the actual reason, and what's the real reason? We work in utility warehouse on what you want from this business. We have something called meeting one, where you sit down with someone and say, right, you paid your peanuts to get involved. It's very easy at that point to do nothing because you've only paid peanuts to join the business. So what do you really want from this? And one of the questions is, What do you want me to do if I see you going off track? And people then make flippant comments. Oh, feel free to kick my backside or whatever. But it's actually there. You know, at the end of the day, they are independent partners with the business. We don't employ them. We can't tell them what to do. We can only support and guide them. But a big part of it is what do you really want from this? You know, where do you want to be in 5, 10, 12, 2, 3 years time, whatever it is, and how can we help you? Just keeping people focused and on track, because without that, they drift.
Yeah.
You know, we see that all the time with people.
I think that you saying that the thing which the thing which has come to my mind, which I read about a long time ago, is Tony Robbins' thing called the rocking chair test. If you imagine yourself sitting in your rocking chair at the age of 80, 85, whatever, in the winter of your years, looking back on your life, or I think some people have also called it the deathbed test. You know, if you're on your deathbed and you know that your time is about to come, and you're about to go and meet your maker, and you're looking back on your life, will you be looking back on it with regret, thinking, I wish I'd done this, wish I'd done that, wish I'd done the other? Or will you be looking back on your life with pride, you know, and
absolutely.
with satisfaction that you've actually accomplished what you wanted to do? One of my my anthems in life is the Frank Sinatra song, I Did It My Way. It's actually a karaoke song it's my karaoke song.
Right, okay.
Anybody who knows me as a karaoke singer will know that I don't do karaoke, I do a performance. But when I sing that song, I sing it with I mean every word that I sing, you know. Every word of that song means something to me. And it's like, you know, I ate it up and I spit it out, you know. We all make mistakes, but it's how we handle those mistakes. And at the end of the day, you know, when we come to the end of our life, are we going to look back? Yeah, we've all made mistakes. But it's how you handled those mistakes, and did you let them break you, or did you let them make you? And the challenge is, you know, and it's the you know, did you stick to what your goals were? Did you achieve your ultimate goal? Did you know what your ultimate goal was?
Place, which most people don't.
Yeah. I think you and I are going to have a conversation.
Much longer conversation. I would agree with that. I think many people just want to die with a mortgage paid. That's the limit of their ambition.
And it's sad. It saddens me to think that there are people who their goal is, like you say, to go out of this world having their mortgage paid, to retire from their job. They're just over broke, and
another great phrase.
And to retire, that they are just over broke, so they're not broke, but they don't realise that they're actually just a hairbreadth away from it. They've got their pension, they've received their clock from their boss. You know, why do you always get a clock when you retire as a retirement gift? Is it kind of like a metaphor for like your time is up?
It's a great question. My 10-year clock from IBM is still on our mantelpiece, and it's. I mean, I look back on my time with IBM with great affection, most of it, but it's like you say, why did they give you a bloody clock? What's the point of that? You know?
Yeah, it's like But I mean, one guy who and Karen, I don't know whether you know this guy. Karen knows or knew this guy. He's sadly no longer with us. But one of the guys who taught me a lot about goal setting is a guy called his name's gone out of my head, and shame on me.
Chris Williams, is it?
No, he called himself the time doctor.
Mike
Gardner. Mike Gardner, that's it. I couldn't remember his first name, but Mike Gardner. I mean, sadly he's no longer with us. But what he taught about goal setting was just brilliant. And I've actually adapted his teaching. I did my own strings legs and tails to it, my own to create my own version of, but it's based on what I learned from him. He was a very very great mentor to a lot of people, including myself.
Brilliant.
And I've got a lot to thank him for. And we all have mentors in life. I can see you being one of mine, actually, because the stuff that you've taught, you've spoken about today was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
That's very kind of you to say so, and I'm more than happy to help if you feel I can.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't promise I'll ever rejoin UW.
Nothing to do with you. I don't even think that's on my agenda. Nothing at all.
But I'm sure it's not. But it's when you started talking about goal setting, it's a favourite subject of mine, and it's something that I think we all need to work on. I think everybody is a work in progress when it comes to goal setting. Even
Absolutely.
Tony Robbins,
Yes.
We can always learn. Actually, it's funny because I was just talking to somebody else on a Zoom call before this, and who's actually going into coaching. And I said to her, well, if you need a coach, let me know. And she actually made the comment, well, yeah, even coaches need coaches,
Absolutely.
And I said, well, yeah, even Tony Robbins, would you believe it, has a coach, and
Roger Federer has a coach.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it doesn't matter where you are in life. If you want to get on in life, you have to have a coach.
Absolutely.
You need a coach, Karen's my coach at the moment, and she's doing a brilliant job. And I'm looking forward to you telling your story about the yellow plane on the 17th of August. It's going to be great. But
excellent.
Yeah,
I've got that jotted down. I'll check my diary when we get off the call.
Yes, it'll be good to have you on the call, and if I can perhaps get you on to speak at one of my future events.
I'll happily help out if I can. If you feel I can add value to something, then
yeah. I would say that, and I mean this with the greatest sincerity. I don't say things unless I mean them. But you strike me as a salt of the earth kind of person. You've had the experience. You've walked the walk, and now you're talking the talk. And I respect that.
I do my best.
Yeah, but it's good to hear. The thing I love about these kind of events, these kind of meetings, you hear people's life stories, and it's very raw and very real. And yeah, you've had some challenges. You've had regrets, and you said that there were things that you would go back and tell your younger self. I think we would all do that, but when we realise that, well, actually, those things have made me the person I am today.
We all have our own hilltop. We all have our own view of the rest of the world.
Yes.
And our hilltop is different to everybody's. I worked many years ago with an organisation called Quarto, who wrote, unsurprisingly, it was 4 partners, and they were a personal development, that's your sales consultancy at the time. This is in the mid-90s when it was at IBM. And they wrote a book called First Find Your Hilltop. So whereabouts are you in life, and where do you want to be, and what's your view today, and how do you move from there to where you want to be? And it's so important that people actually try and understand. And that comes back to the thing about having a why that makes you cry. I'm here at this moment. Why? What do I really want? Where do I want to be? What do I need to do to get there? What's the obstacles I might find? What happens if I don't do it? Alan Pease is great for that. Alan Pease, the Australian guy. I don't know if you've heard of Alan Pease. Yeah, he has is it the 5 solid goal questions? And it's designed as an introducer to speak to people about your network marketing business. It's absolutely true. Where do you want to be? What's important? What happens if you don't get it? And then what? And it just starts to make people think beyond this bloody job business, pardon my language, and what they actually really want to achieve out of life. But hey ho.
Yeah. Something else which has just come to my mind, which I think is very apt to the conversation. I was listening to a Les Brown talk a couple of days ago. I absolutely love that guy. I rate him to bits.
I've not heard of him at all.
Les Brown. Oh,
Les Brown.
Look him up on YouTube.
Okay.
He is. But one of the things he says is, no matter how hard it is, no matter how hard it gets,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it.
Yes.
And he actually had that posted on the mirror. He was, when he was a struggling entrepreneur, and he didn't have anywhere to live, and he had an office. He needed an office for his business, so he used to sleep
Mm-hmm.
in his office, and used to go down to the washroom every morning to to bathe, you know, to have a wash and a shave, what have you. And he used to look in the mirror and cry, and
Wow.
then he would write. He wrote it on this piece of paper and stick it on the
Mm-hmm.
mirror, and he would say that. So he would look at himself in the mirror. Mirror talk is one of the best things. It's the weirdest thing you can do. Feels so weird, but it's so liberating. He used to look at himself in the eye, in the mirror, and say, "No matter how hard it is, no matter how hard it gets, I'm going to make it." And now he is one of the world's top motivational speakers. And his story is so moving, you know, it is so moving, um, and so inspiring. I rate the guy, you know, so
Beautiful.
highly, you know. One of the guys that I want to meet. In fact, I want to share the stage with him, actually. But he's very raw and very real, you know. And I think that's one of the things that I'm getting. I've gotten from COVID, from the COVID situation, from the lockdown and everything, is raw and real. People
Mm-hmm.
are embracing reality,
Mm-hmm.
raw reality, and they're seeing that it doesn't. That I think people come to realize that it doesn't matter what your status in life is. We're all human. We're all
Yeah.
susceptible to the same viruses and the same mindset challenges, and you know, the same day-to-day challenges in life. You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether you are a prince or a pauper.
Yes.
You still breathe the same air, as
Yeah.
you know, you still um, live on the same planet
Yeah.
and benefit from the same sunlight. You
Yeah.
still need to eat, you still need to drink, you still need to have love in your life, you know. um, we're all human, and it doesn't matter what status you are, what color you are, what sexuality you are, what gender you are,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you are, you know, prince or pauper, black or white, male or female. um, we're all human at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and we all have the same challenges. And
Yeah.
I think this year has, I think that's highlighted that, you know, that we are all human. You know, we're all
Yeah.
human beings, and we're in this together.
Yeah.
We will only get out of this by God's grace, but we will only get out of
Mm.
this if we pull together,
Yeah.
you know, and if we stand together as one race, you
Yeah.
know.
I think there was
Um,
sorry I interrupted. There was I can't remember who it's attributed to, but somebody recently said it's only when the tide goes out you find out he's been swimming naked.
yeah,
And it links into the raw thing, because all of a sudden this COVID situation has stripped away lots of veneers. It's stripped away lots of safeguards and protections because they're just not there, primarily around jobs. It's made us feel very, very vulnerable in terms of the illness thing. I was petrified of it to start with. It really was. But it's changed a lot of people's thinking, but it's also made many people realize how vulnerable they actually really are. And it's taken it back down to the, if you like, the raw elements of where we all are. And you're absolutely right in what you're saying. We're all gonna have a coffin the same size, no matter how nice the car is or the house. The coffin's going to be the same size, give or take. And we're all in the same boat. And all of a sudden, lots of people now who've had great jobs and great businesses, you're not going to have it anymore. They're back to being a basic human being and maybe starting again. It's very sad, but it's also it's not a bad thing in some ways if it makes people realize how, what's the word I'm looking for? False isn't the right word, but how vulnerable they really are, and they do something to
Yeah.
protect themselves from that vulnerability moving forward, because there ain't any hiding place from the current situation.
Yeah. And yeah, people seem to, a lot of people have, I think there has been this veneer on life, you know, on a lot of people's lives, you know, and that, like you say, that it's been stripped away, and we realize, you know, that we need each other, you know, we all need each
Yeah.
other. So it's, but yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I really
Me
have,
too. Thank you.
and thank you for your,
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you very much for all your time, Alan.
You're
And
welcome. No
thanks
problem
for
at all.
joining
Anytime at
us.
all. Always happy to help people if I can.
Yeah, yeah. And as I say, I will post this on YouTube.
All right, we're going to be a telly star then, yeah?
That's it.
yeah,
That's it.
you'll be a celebrity.
That's it.
I've got the face for radio. I know that. I don't know about the telly.
Do you want to give a quick plug for your event on the 15th of August, Jay?
17th of August.
17th of August, Stephen.
You better get the date right, because you're speaking. The 15th will be a Saturday, because the 17th is a Monday.
Monday, yeah.
Yes, so Monday the 17th of August, 10 o'clock a.m. until 11:15. That's 11:15 a.m. British Summer Time. The event is called B2B Connections Online. If you are a business-to-business service provider, or if you are in business looking for a service provider, whether that be a virtual assistant, an accountant, web designer, whatever, and again, you're welcome to come along. It's free to attend. However, I do have 5 business showcase tickets, which are the ones that give you the additional promotion and advertising to everybody who books on, regardless of whether they turn up. They will receive your details about your business and your services, solutions, etc. So those are just £15. Whether you go for the free ticket or the business showcase ticket, both available at jalex.com, that's JAELEX.com/B2B connections. That's letter B, number 2, letter B connections. That's all one
I'll
word.
take a showcase off you, Jay.
So say again.
I'll take a showcase from you.
Oh, great! Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. That would be good. I think it'll benefit. Oh, I know it will benefit your business greatly. You get two minutes of airtime, and you get your business promoted to everybody who books on, regardless
Wonderful.
of whether they show up or not. Because I realise some people will actually, especially with free events, they'll say, "Yeah, this sounds good," but then when it comes to the actual day, things happen, you know, and because they haven't paid for it, you know, you know,
it's another one of my mantras in business. Don't give away anything. People don't appreciate it.
Well, this is
I know
true.
there's mixed views on that, but stuff that is free, it's too easy. Things like events, it's too easy to not commit.
Well, this is true. This is true. I mean, the thing is, that being said, life happens, you know, and you know, it's not always an excuse. Sometimes it is a valid reason, you know, and I don't resent anybody, but from as I'm promising to promote your business to everybody at the event, I want to make I'm doing everything I can to ensure you get that £15, 15. You know, it's a small investment for.
It's peanuts, and it's not even worth thinking about. It's well worth it.
Well, yes, exactly. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's my event.
Okay.
Karen's going to be doing the mindset success talk. I'm going to be doing the business growth talk, because I've got a message that I want to give out to everybody about speaking your brand, what it means, and why you need to do it. And Karen's got a fantastic, inspiring story, which she's written herself, and I think it's a beautiful story, a very entertaining story, and has got a fantastic life lesson in that story. So I think I just love the story, and I just wanted her to share it with everybody.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. As I say, I'll
It's
check
going
my
to be a great
diary. I'm
event.
pretty sure I'm not booked up that far in advance, but I'll have a
Yeah.
look and see what we can do.
Yeah.
I'll have a
Okie
ticket off you
dokie.
one way or the other. Lovely to meet you, Jay.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay then. Thank you very much then, Alan.
See you both soon. Thanks, Karen. See you soon.
Okay
Yeah.
then. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye
Thanks
now.
both. Cheers. Bye bye.